Manufacturing Council calls for effective regulations. NSO reveals constraints to collecting data. More than 300 graduates from International Training Institute.
This is NBC Papua New Guinea National News.
Good evening, I'm Jerry Tave. The Manufacturing Council of Papua New Guinea has called for effective and efficient regulations to be enforced to assist businesses in the country. Chairman Shays Covell says most of the regulations enforced by government agencies are not business-friendly. He was speaking during the final day of the Stakeholders Forum hosted by the Papua New Guinea Customs. Mickey Cavera reports.
The two-day Stakeholders Forum was aimed at finding new ways to improving customs systems and procedures to enhance trade facilitation and supply chain security. Although steps have been taken, there is still a lack of understanding from various stakeholders. As such, PNG Customs is making it a priority to work closely with its stakeholders to making the systems work for the benefit of all.
Is there to share the ideas and also share the responsibility, so that our administrative regulatory burdens can be reduced to increase investments and reducing cost of business in PNG.
The Manufacturing Council of Papua New Guinea always encourage government agencies to make business conducive for all stakeholders. However, it has identified that manufacturers continued to be suppressed by strict government regulations and bureaucratic interference. Chairman of the Manufacturing Council of Papua New Guinea, Shay Scoville, urged all stakeholders to find mechanisms to address these challenges. He says law and order, high tax and strict regulations are discouraging to many businesses. Mickey Cavera, NBC National News, Port Moresby.
Calls by Chief Secretary to the government, Isaac Lupari, to save the University of Papua New Guinea 2016 academic year is impossible. That's according to Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar. Minister Tabar says it's impossible because the final decision to terminate the academic year has been made by the Academic Senate. Shalom Alkin reports.
Minister Tabar says the Academic Senate is the body that determines the academic programs and the quality assurance issues for the degrees and diplomas of students. And it is very difficult at this point to relook at the decision that has been made. Speaking to NBC National News on telephone, Mr. Tabar says this is due to almost 2 months of missing classes.
It would be difficult, to be honest, even me as minister. The Senate is the body that determines the academic standing accreditation systems of UPNG against the international standard. So as it is, the hours and the contents have not been covered. How can we confer the degrees there? So the argument for independence and autonomy is also there. The act is clear for UPNG. I cannot dictate to UPNG how things should be done.
Meanwhile, all current students will have to reapply for next year's academic year. Minister Tabar stressed that the university will have to take responsibility in identifying students who will continue on next year based on disciplinary issues.
The Provincial Chancellor of University of Papua New Guinea was held up. He was assaulted. His vehicle was taken away. A law lecturer was assaulted. All of the things. Students were assaulted. Groups of students were intimidated. So all of this, the university knows about it. It's unfortunate. I told the media conference, you guys don't seem to cover all of the things that the students are doing. It's only fair that they go through, and as they have identified those people, they would have to do the right thing by the laws of the university.
Sheila Malkin, NBC National News, Port Moresby.
Meanwhile, the professional studies students and senior students in the University of Papua New Guinea have appealed to the National Executive Council to intervene to save the academic year. The call was made after the Academic Senate terminated the 2016 academic year on Tuesday this week. As Bralin Wani reports.
Some senior students and others undergoing professional studies at the University of Papua New Guinea have expressed concern over the termination of the 2016 academic year. Since the suspension of the Student Representative Council constitution, they appeal to the National Executive Council to intervene so they can continue their education.
We are here to raise the voice and concern for all the university students, first years to final years, that we are calling upon the NEC to intervene and revoke the council's decision that was handed down.
They said they have worked so hard, and for the academic year to be terminated, they feel that it is unfair for some of them. A third-year law student, Tombani Lokai, said they are looking forward for a reconciliation. They said the clash between students and uniform security guards was not related to the protest they had, but the confrontation has triggered termination of the academic year.
Fast-track the reconciliation process, and I think my student colleagues have felt enough. They had enough pains and suffering for the last 8 weeks. I think they will behave themselves, and then upon this one we'll invoke the reconciliation process. And I think we are hacked to go back to classes. We had enough, so I think we ourselves will behave definitely.
Meanwhile, an activist from Trade Union Congress, Kenneth Wauga, says students can go back to class as it helps contribute to the country's development.
Pacific Island to welcome at the school. You know, you may Papua New Guinea one. So this is issues belong political issues belong me affecting country belong me. So plenty student belong me. Only go out to school and only step outside, which I'm not good.
Esther Berlin-Wani, NBC National News, Port Moresby.
Funding constraints and geographical difficulties are among issues affecting the National Statistical Office in collecting data. Acting Deputy Statistician Hanau Kari told NBC National News that collecting of data alone cost the government over 100 million kina. This was revealed at a public forum held today, organized by the National Statistical Office. Jacqueline Yala reports.
With the country's geographical locations, the National Statistical Office finds it difficult to update the country's census on a timely manner. It is also a costly exercise that needs resources and trained people. However, today a number of questions were raised by representatives from different organizations in the public forum organized by the National Statistical Office on the review of the Statistical Service Act. Acting Deputy National Statistician Hanau Kari told NBC National News that the 2017 general election will use the census collected in 2011.
Well, the election will have to base the figures on the 2011 national population and housing census figures, and that's the base, new base.
He said it cost the government 130 million kina to collect new census data.
We spend millions and millions of kina. You know, countries like PNG, where we have rugged mountains or roads not reaching villages in very remote areas, and it's very costly. Because we also want to it's costly because we have to train the trainers. We have to train the enumerators, the interviewers.
He says census data doesn't change over time and it takes 5 to 10 years. Jacqueline Yala, NBC National News, Port Moresby.
Education Minister Nick Kuman has announced that the policy document by the Department of Education on school registration policy and procedures has been developed and approved for implementation. The minister said the school registration policy and procedures was developed because the department has seen an increase in schools being established by education authorities or interest groups in an unplanned and unregulated manner. Minister Kuman said these schools have enrolled students and engaged teachers without due regard of the consequences affecting innocent students and teachers. Kuman added that the provincial education advisors, district education administrators and board of managements are called to support the implementation of the school registration policy and procedures. It said the policy will guide all the education personnel and authorities. The International Training Institute, or ITI, continues to provide quality education in the country. It held its 48th graduation today in Port Moresby, which saw more than 300 students graduate with certificates and diplomas. Education is a tool for development was the theme for this graduation. As the Ralinwani reports.
Oh, we have Jessica Kamal.
Most of the students at the International Training Institute are those that have been looking for a second chance and working class people who are furthering their studies whilst working. The ITI has given these students an opportunity to get a quality education, and finally they have sold their hard work through the 48th graduation today in Port Moresby. A total of 376 students graduated with certificates, diplomas and advanced diploma in business and IT. Among the students, a proud Christabella Kivia was a DAX awardee for certificate in accounting.
Impressed and happy about my achievement. First of all, I would like to thank the Heavenly Father for my achievements, and the ITI management staff and all my lecturers and my parents, especially for their love and support.
Also, the principal DAX awardee was Lucas Silsukaro, who thanked ITI for providing quality education for Papua New Guineans.
I further would like to acknowledge and commend the International Training Institute for its tremendous effort in providing quality and affordable education for Papua New Guineans, because education is a tool for development in this country.
ITI Managing Director Saint Eval Kumaran was proud of the successful graduation. Esther Brelinwani, NBC National News, Port Moresby.
And we now join Douglas with the weather preview.
Thanks, Jerry. Good evening, everybody. The weather in brief: fine weather conditions forecasted for most centers, while others are having light showers and morning fog with windy conditions. I've got all the weather details a little later in the news. For now, though, it's back to you, Jerry.
Thank you, Douglas. Coming up next, journalist launches book highlighting Australia's ignorance to its colony, PNG. And police breakthrough Hanuabada shooting incident. Stay with us on NBC National News.